prophet.
Oh, it's that. No, it gotta be. No, it can't be the weed.
I need you to help form unity in the
Gotta be
world.
the weed. It's gotta be the weed, man. Ooh, what is going on? What is going on?
Hi, welcome to the Conversation Shop with Sedrick Page. I'm here with my very special guest, Miss Nikyra McCann, entrepreneur, filmmaker. Don't be afraid. Welcome to my show, Nikyra.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'd like you to start by just, telling my audience a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Nikyra McCann. I was raised here in Madison, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Been here for 27 years. I have a family, immediate family, no children right now. I'm a student in school, so.
Okay,
Yep.
Student at Madison College?
Ashford University,
Ashford.
online.
Okay,
Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank
I
you,
like that.
thank you.
So tell me, don't be afraid. You're going to hear me say that a lot
Okay.
during that section. I really like that. I think it should be a mantra. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Don't judge
Don't
what you
judge.
don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, filmmaker. So tell me a little bit about, how did you come into making a film, and what does "Don't be afraid" mean to you?
So I was diagnosed with a mental illness
Okay.
10 years ago. So I decided to make a film, Don't Judge Me. So I did the film. I edited it all by myself. My family helped me record. I did it all in 1 month. I had it aired at a local theater. It was aired. All proceeds went to a mental health agency.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I did that just to tell my story. I like to tell my story because I believe it heals myself, and as well as me telling my story, it heals others as well.
Okay. Mental health. Are you comfortable sharing with me what that diagnosis was?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with bipolar 10 years ago.
Bipolar. Okay.
Mhm.
And just navigating that, just from what it seems from watching
Yeah.
the film myself, took you down different
Yeah,
roads and different experiences.
absolutely.
Quite frankly, even though I was watching your struggle, and we're going to talk to my audience a little bit about what that is. I'm going to have you share with them what that is, but it was just still very inspiring because throughout it was a theme of God.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really curious. I'm really hoping that you share with me why that's so. I think that's amazing. So let's just dive right in.
Yeah.
In terms of be afraid, there's a part in the movie where you're going into a pool hall with a friend. You're about to play pool, and you're having a conversation. And during that conversation, you go sit down and you begin to tell them or tell him your story. So tell me your story. We're going to begin. The title of the film is Don't Be Afraid. So please tell me your story.
So the title of the film is Don't Judge Me.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm sorry.
Don't judge me. In that moment, it was me and my nephew. That was
Mm-hmm.
my nephew in real life. He actually helped me film the movie. He was 11 years old at the time, and it was just a struggle, and I think I talk about God because I was raised in the church my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, it was when I wanted to find God for myself, it felt like every time I would end up in a mental institution.
Okay.
So that was my struggle.
But
And-
hold
yeah.
right there, because I don't want to leave anything out.
Yeah,
So let's go back to sitting on that bed,
yeah,
and let's go back to smoking on whatever that was.
Yeah.
And let's go to when you first heard that voice in your head. So I want you to walk me through that all the way up to when the cops come into the yard
yeah,
and that experience. And as you're sharing that with me, I really want you to share with me and my audience how you felt.
yeah.
I want to know confusion. I mean, were you confused? Were you angry? How did you feel? And as you were going through that, when I was watching it, I kept feeling like no one's really paying attention or really listening to her, and no one's really trying to help her.
Right.
That was the
Yeah.
main thing, like who's
Yeah.
helping her?
Yeah. So How it started, I was smoking marijuana,
Mm-hmm.
and with my ex-boyfriend. I was 20 years old. I was at my apartment, and
Mm-hmm.
I started smoking. I had been smoking weed like a year earlier than that before this happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then one time I wanted to, get closer to God. I was raised in the church, so I started reading my Bible. And then I started hearing these voices,
Mm-hmm.
like the voice of God, I love you, or do this and do that, tell the world we need love, tell the world we need unity.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started hearing these voices, and one day I was outside. I walked outside in front of my house, and I started screaming, God says we need unity in the world. And then a police officer out of nowhere came and just arrested me
Yes.
and
How did-
just put me in jail.
Like,
So-
how did you, like,
At-
take, take me from,
Yes.
what leads you, or what emotion did you have? What compelled you, if you even know, or was it just something you just did without thinking and just went to yelling and telling the world about unity in God? Was it that kind of experience?
So it was, I was telling the world that we need unity and love in the world, from what I was going through. But when the police officer came to me, I was shocked, because he caught me off guard. I'm just, there saying to the world how I felt, what God was telling me to say, and then I just get arrested. So I was really confused, and I was sort of resisting, what is going on? And he put me on the car, and then he put me in handcuffs, and it was really strange for me.
So did someone call the police, or did he tell you you were disturbing the peace? Like, what were you arrested for?
I guess someone called and said they had saw me walking around or yelling or something like that, and then he came, and then that's when he arrested me on my porch.
So didn't take you home?
No.
Didn't speak to anyone at your home?
No.
Didn't try to find out was there a problem? Was there some medication that you may have been on?
Nothing.
Was a crime committed? So there was obviously no crime
Nothing.
committed.
Nothing.
So walk me to when you get to the police. They take you to the police station, I'm assuming.
Yep.
Do they contact any of your relatives or let anyone know that you've been arrested?
So I think my family was looking for me. It was 10 years ago, so possibly they reached out to my family. They immediately put me in isolation. So I was in isolation, just in a small room with this coat over me.
So let's stop right there.
Yeah.
So we're going to walk them through it again. So you're having an experience.
Yeah.
Okay, you're outside. You're yelling religious things, as people do. I've been to New York and many places, people
Right.
do it, okay?
Right.
But someone decides to call and say something's wrong.
Yeah.
So the police come.
Mm-hmm.
So again, someone comes up to you, doesn't read you your rights, obviously doesn't read you your Miranda rights at all,
Nope.
doesn't tell you why you're being arrested,
Nope.
doesn't try to find out where your home is, if you live in the neighborhood or if you're right in front of your house
Nope.
or on your own property, takes you to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, as you're in the car, he's a police officer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we would assume that he would be assessing your mental health, assessing whether you're ill, assessing whether there's a health issue.
Mm-hmm.
Does none of that. Takes you right to the jail,
Yep.
books you in, or just takes you to this room and closes the door?
Takes me to jail. I was in a room.
Just takes you to a room,
Yep.
closes the door. So someone that's obviously or potentially having a mental health issue
Mm-hmm.
is placed in a room by themselves,
Mm-hmm.
closed door, walls. Was there anything in there that you could possibly harm yourself with?
Nope. There was just a toilet, and I could just see through the window right there.
Okay, so no help again. So did someone come and talk to you? Did a counselor come and speak
I
to you?
remember someone from the jail or maybe a mental institution coming up there and speaking with me, but I was, after being in there for so long, just trapped for hours or days,
Mhm.
you then begin to become more delusional, So
Right.
it's like they tried to talk to me, and I just remember, I don't remember what I said, but after, yeah. So.
So, actually, the reason they were able to keep you wasn't the reason why they took you. It was your actions that they caused while you were there,
Right.
because you obviously didn't get any medication or didn't get any treatment.
Nope.
Did a doctor come and see you?
No.
Did they take you to the hospital?
No. After I was there a couple days.
After you were there a couple of days,
Then
they probably realized that they needed to cover their
Right.
backs,
Yep.
and then took you to be assessed. So when does your family know you're there?
My family, I believe, I was transferred to Mendota. So then my mom, she's a mental health specialist. So she then began to reach out, wondering where I was and things. So then she started to come visit me.
So were you 20 or 21 again?
20.
You were 20. Really?
Yes.
That's amazing. I mean, it's not shocking with you being a melanated person, quite frankly. And it makes me sad that you had absolutely no one that was advocating for you, and it sounded like you were caught in a vacuum. So they were vested in proving that you had a mental health issue when you did, but you knew what it was. You were bipolar. So maybe getting you some medication to treat your bipolarism would have been what they should have done or should have attempted to do originally. I mean, would you agree, or would you say, like, I'm just confused by why they didn't do certain things?
Because I would say I hadn't had any issues with bipolar before that.
Okay.
So I was diagnosed after that first time getting arrested and going to Mendota. That was my first diagnosis.
Okay, that was your first diagnosis of that?
Yes.
While you were incarcerated?
Yes.
Did you get a second opinion?
No.
Okay, so this happened while you were incarcerated. Okay, so tell me about how that made you feel as a young person, as a woman. You know, tell me how that really just made you feel when you were there.
I would say it took a lot away from me. Just being young and still having my whole life ahead of me. It took so much away, and I really didn't want to believe it at first. Like, no, that ain't me. That's not, I don't have a mental illness and things like that. So it was really hard. But, your struggles, I overcame today, so.
Okay, so just really being angry?
Yeah.
Would you say a lot of anger?
Yeah, it was at first, yeah.
Anger and uncontrollable anger?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I would say sadness, depression started to kick in, like, why am I going through this? Like, why did I have to sit in a mental institution for a month?
Right.
Without my family, and, so
Right.
it was hard.
And while you were in the mental institution, were you receiving help?
Yes.
You were. Okay. Well, again, we're going to dive right into, your experience within that mental health institution and you walking me through some more of your film.
Okay.
We'll cover that on the next segment of The Conversation Shop. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back to The Conversation Shop with Sedrick Page. I'm here with my very special guest, Miss Nikyra McCann. Nikyra, we were having a wonderful conversation before. Some shocking things, I couldn't help but just dive in.
Yes,
Are you kidding
absolutely.
me? But we're going to just dive right in. So on the first segment, we were right into where the police, you were arrested, they put you in this room, and they transferred you to Mendota. And that's when your family found out where you were because your mother began looking for you. So walk me through that, okay?
So I was in Mendota, alone, just in this room, trapped in a room, with no one to really call on at that time, and it was really hard. And I just remember being in Mendota and doctors coming to see me, coming to visit me, and they really didn't do too much though. Like, they would just come once out of the week and say, okay, well, you're having this issue, we're just going to put you on this medicine, and that was it. So
Really?
yes, like, there wasn't really like a doctor really like tests ran or different things to see how I was functioning. It was just, I just remember an older Caucasian doctor just telling me like, you know, okay, we're just going to put you on this medication.
Really? So
Yes.
I'm sorry I got to dive into this. So I want to repeat. So what you're telling me is that once you were transferred from this jail to Mendota, and all this time where you in jail, your parents, your family didn't know where you were. So we're talking roughly a month?
I was in Mendota for a month.
Min-
My family knew before the month, though,
Okay.
that where I was
So
eventually.
So they get you in Mendota. So you're in Mendota. So again, I'm sorry I got to ask these questions.
No.
So you were never assessed? So no one even ran tests to see if you're diabetic, had high blood pressure, if you are allergic to anything, to diagnose you. So the
Yep.
key word, and excuse me, it sounds like you were never given a medical diagnosis, and it sounds like they just immediately began to sedate you,
Yeah.
and that they had a made-up diagnosis for what was going on with you.
Absolutely. And when I first got there, I remember them putting me in the room and I was afraid. I'm like, how did I get here? Like, they rolled me in a high chair and then they had this thing over my face and they rolling me through the hospital. Then they put me in this room and I'm yelling, I'm screaming. Then like 3 or 4 of the workers just come up to me, pin me down on the ground with my legs and inject me with medicine.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, so with all due respect, I have to ask this question for certain parts of my audience. Are you sure you didn't do anything? Because there's going to be people out here that go, you know, she did something. She kicked someone. She had to do something
No.
for that to happen to her. Are you kidding me?
No.
You just were outside of your house.
Yes.
And you were just yelling, and they just took you and did all of that. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
And no one called your mom, really?
That is the truth.
Okay. So again, respectfully, I had to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is the truth. I was outside of my home, ended up getting arrested, and ended up in Mendota for a month.
Okay. So again, I'm sorry to cut you off. I just had to get a
Yeah.
little clarification. So they're giving you these meds. So finish telling me your story.
So I'm in Mendota,
Mhm.
and they're giving me this medication. There was people in there cutting themselves with stuff. Like, I don't know where they got the stuff from, but I remember walking by, a girl was cutting her wrist with something sharp
Oh,
that she
wow.
found from somewhere. And so I'm in there for a month. My family would come visit me, and, you know, my mom, she was in school to be a psychologist. So she was really fighting on my behalf, fighting for me to get out, and, you know, because
So what was their justification for keeping you? That's what I'm trying to figure out. What was their justification for not immediately releasing you to your parents? You weren't charged with a crime. It doesn't sound like you were convicted of anything.
Nope.
So what was their legal justification for keeping you in that institution?
I don't believe there was any.
What did they give your mom any justification?
They didn't give anything. They just said, just immediately diagnosed me with bipolar. I was then put on a commitment where I had to take my medication.
So you signed things not in front of your parent, not in front of your mom?
No, because my mom is a mental health specialist.
Okay.
So she went to school to be a psychologist.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
she has her bachelor's. So she was the one, you know, well, just put her on medicine and different things like that. So
Okay.
she was the one that was really in the back, like fighting for me to get out because they were trying to keep me in there. So
Right, I
she
understand.
really had to make calls, call people to make sure that I would get out and that I was okay.
Okay,
So-
gotcha. I hear that loud and clear. So back up a little bit and walk me through that advocacy. Walk me through her frustrations, your frustrations, what led her, the different things that she did, and walk me through you getting out.
Yeah, so I even remember times when I had battled this mental illness, times when before I was in the hospital. I remember times my mom walking down the street beside me because I was out of my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom would be there, and she would, like, when they would tell me that either I couldn't get out or there was just different things that I had to face, different battles that I had to overcome, my mom was there making phone calls, on the phone constantly with the nurses, with the doctors, just always just being that support and my rock and making sure that I was okay.
I understand that. Now, if you don't mind, and it's okay if you're not comfortable, Can you share with me some of the battles, of one or two of the battles that you were kind of fighting in addition to what was going on in there?
So what I think a battle that I was facing, or that I was getting out. I was really feeling that I wouldn't ever get out. Like, I've had different hospitalizations, like 5 hospitalizations, and there was times when they didn't want to let me out, or they wanted to keep me.
So you were feeling a little hopeless.
Yeah. Like,
defeated.
Why do I have to go through this? Like, wow, God, like, I'm trusting you. I'm trying to, be a woman of God and be on your side. And here I am feeling hopeless. Here I am feeling like my life is going to end this way. So.
Okay. Now, I just want to backtrack a little bit, or just share with me and my audience. We talked about God a little bit, or you just touched on that. So how do you feel, what was God's influence on you? We know what led you there. You're going out, and you're saying, God wants us to have unity. So as you're going through your mental health situation in Mendota, is God still there? Are you still hearing those kinds of things? Are you still navigating your religion and your faith at this time? Or is that something that's kind of been pushed back, and the main goal is to get out?
I think the main goal was to get out.
Gotcha.
The main goal was to get out and to just leave all that where it was, and I'll pick up once I get out.
Okay.
So that's where my mind was.
Okay. And, those emotions, tell me, if you don't mind, how did you feel? I mean, what did you do? How did you keep your sanity? Because they're saying, I'm sure some people would go, where you're in a mental institution, so maybe you don't have any sanity. I think that you do. So how do you keep your sanity, and how do you navigate all of this with all this craziness going on around you? How do you remain you and this woman that's sitting, this beautiful black woman that's sitting across the table from me? So walk me through that.
I would say family support. My family being there, always coming to visit me, always calling me. They can call you while you're there. Just always calling, checking in, making sure that I was okay. Kyrie, you're going to be okay. God got you. I think really that support. And I believe that if you have one person who stays by your side, like, you can make it out of anything.
I agree. I agree totally. My grandmother, was my rock.
Yeah.
I still hear her voice in my head, when I'm doing different things, to motivate you. So I do understand that. So also, do me a favor, walk me through, a day in that institution,
Yeah. So a day in a mental institution is, so there's they have a main room where there's tables, and they have games on the walls, in cupboards. And they have workers sitting in their chairs, maybe like 3 or 4 workers in a room. You have a group of maybe like 10, 15 people who's in the mental institution. You sit there all day. You can maybe play a game or do something. Then they have like an activity. Some people come in, do some activities with you, or you can go to your room and just sit in your room, sleep. So there really is, or they take you outside to a little field. They feed you 3 times a day. So it's really just one main room that you sit in, watch TV, and you sit in there with other people and you talk amongst them and things like that. So it's really, I think that to go from being out of your mind, or for them to say that you're out of your mind, you're delusional, and to put you in a setting like that, I think that makes you even more even more crazy or insane. The fact that you're put just in a small little area, and that's just where you are. Now imagine being there a month, 2 months. Like, it gets crazy.
You're in jail.
Yes.
Basically, you're in jail. There's no stimulation. So, and to me, it's so funny when someone who would need positive stimulation, would need to smell fresh air, would need to see the leaves on the ground, would need to see the sky, would need to look up and know there's a God. People who need to have those experiences, people who need to be interactive and taught how to reacquaint themselves with interacting with other people, are put in spaces that teach them to be antisocial and not interact with other people, and to make you even more psychotic. So the question sometimes it makes me ask, is the goal to make you better or make you worse?
And I would say in that type of setting, it doesn't make you better.
It doesn't make you better.
I think that me having my faith has made me better, but the situations and the things that I had to go through, that was meant to destroy me.
Okay.
But my faith in God is what kept my head high. That's the reason why I'm here today and doing the things that I do.
I salute you for that.
Thank you.
So tell me this, does the medicine help you?
So I would honestly say I don't feel anything. Like, I've gained weight due to the medication, but I would say there's a lot of, I guess, side effects and things that can come with the medication. I'm fine. I'm in school. I did my movie. I speak to thousands of people. I've been in newspapers, magazines, but I don't think that it's really the medicine. Like, I really believe that it's my faith. Like, the medication, like, could have me a zombie right now. Like, I could be a zombie, or I could just want to sleep all day and not do anything, not come out of the room, or it can give me so many defects, like, in my brain that I can't really function to have the intellect that I have.
Right.
So I believe that it's really God, even though it's the medication and it's helping me, but I think that God is what's really, really the healing thing inside of me that's working to make me to prosper for another day.
Okay. Well, we're going to elaborate on that a little bit on the next segment. We'll be right back on The Conversation Shop.
Jump and kill yourself.
I just wanted God. I just wanted that feeling that I felt the first time I heard his voice.
Hi, welcome back to The Conversation Shop. I'm here with my very special guest, Nikyra McCann.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Nikyra, I'm really enjoying our conversation
Yes.
and learning about you. So again, I want to thank you sincerely for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for
Okay.
having me.
And we're going to dive right in. We were talking about you being diagnosed with bipolarism, and quite frankly, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like they did anything to come up with the diagnosis, that they just began giving you medication. And quite frankly, it puts me in the mind of another star that we know about who's dealing with something similar, which is Kanye West. And as you were describing some of the things and the ways that it makes you or made you feel, it really puts me in the mind of him, because what I think is so amazing about you is that medication affects your creativity. It has a way of stunning you. So when I look at a black woman, a melanated person, and I see a young person who's creative and who's come out of themselves to create something that's theirs, it's a testament to what you said before, God's purpose and God's presence in your life, because without that and without you being touched, it would be hard to overcome those things, because there's other people that are experiencing very similar things as you. I have a cousin who's experienced very similar things as you, that you probably know. We'll talk about that later, that you probably know. And it's the medication. And I hate the way the medication changes who he is as a person. So I always wonder, is he really happy? Is he really living, or is he existing? I want to live.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And what I say to everyone is, not to get too long-winded, but bipolarism was around years ago, right? And that's what I tell people. We have all these diagnoses, but, if this was here, if it's here now, then it was here previously. So what do we call it then?
Right.
How do we treat it then?
True.
We had people who told us about how to eat, and told us about our diet, and told us about how to change different things in fasting, and how that helps you mentally and helps you spiritually and helps you physically. So when you don't have those things or have those kinds of teachers, we get caught up in this medicine, everything to take a pill for. And, I almost died, which you don't know, about 6 years ago. And you get all this medication that they give you, and this medication has all these different side effects, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, they expect to just give it to you and you not ask. So I inquire about everything they give me. And the first question I would always ask, what are the side effects? What is this? What is that? You're not going to give me something and expect me to take it and I ask you what it is.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not signing anything until you tell me what it is and what it's going to do.
Yeah.
So again, just understanding that and making some of those changes. So again, I just wanted to share that with you in terms of that medication. But we're going to get right back into the movie and talking about your life. Sorry about that. But again, let's go right into your transition. You know, you're getting medicated. You know, your mother's advocating for you. So walk me through this next phase of your life, getting out of this place. How did you get out?
So I would say the advocacy of my mom. My mom is awesome. Like,
and what is her name? Give
Wanda McCann Smith. My mom. I love her so much.
Miss Wanda McCann Smith. We salute you.
Yes.
Mother's love is amazing, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Her working hard, making sure I got out. So I remember the day I got out, my family, they came, picked me up, but it wasn't the same. It's like, whoa, like I just experienced this and then now I'm just supposed to go back to this. Like, whoa. Okay. So
tell me about that. Start right there. Tell me about that. Was it like shock? Like, oh.
Yes. Like it was just like, but even in a sense, it was sort of like I was blank though, because I was on so much medication.
Okay.
That I really didn't even really realize what was happening. So it was like, it was shocking to like be back around my family after being around these people I didn't know. Now here comes these people who've been in my life, you know, my whole life. Like, how do I get back in communication with them and talk to them and love on them? Like, it was strange.
How do you be yourself again?
Yeah.
So tell me this real quickly. How did you, because you just said something to me that just kind of threw me. Like, how do you make that transition and how do you navigate that in your head, going from isolation, no stimulation, to immediate stimulation? How do you rationalize that without freaking out?
Well, first, when I first got out, I was on so much medication. I would drool. Like, I would drool would just come out of my mouth. And I was so doped up on all this medication that I don't think that I was really in tune fully of my new life and things that I had to do.
So you didn't even, all this hope for getting out that you had and this hopelessness that you were feeling, so you finally get out. Does that hopelessness go away?
I think it did. It really did, because I was away from that around the people that I love. Okay. So by being back in communication with my family, it then began to work on me. You know, like, okay, I'm out. This happened. It's a little embarrassing. I went through this. People now saying I have a mental illness. I'm bipolar. I'm this. I'm that. So it's like, how do I move forward? So that's when I decided to do my movie and different things like that.
Okay. Hold that thought.
Yep.
How do you navigate the meds? How do you navigate before you went in, not having to worry about that and being you, and you know, now you went through this entire experience, right? And you know, you're building a testimony, because that's what you have, is a testimony. So you're building this amazing testimony, and you get out, and you know, how do you put all of this together? And now you're on all of these meds that you may or may not, I don't want to speak for you, make you feel like yourself or don't make you feel like yourself, and you're trying to navigate, okay, this is something that I need, you know, so how do I, you know, do I need all of this that they have me on? You know, how do I get back to me? So can you tell me how you did that?
I didn't have a choice. I was told that I had to take my medication. Okay. So I had no choice but to take it and just to see where I would end up.
Okay, so I think you ended up in a wonderful place.
Thank you.
Quite frankly.
Yes, thank you.
So walk me through your experience of getting home, and you know, you're back in the home now. Okay, so you realize you have a testimony, you're talking to your mom, you're talking to your family. So again, you have to understand, for me, okay, you're coming off all these meds that you just told me had you drooling.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm like,
Yes.
you're coming out of Mendota.
Yes.
Okay, so you go through all of that, and then you come up with the decision to say, I'm going to do a movie and tell people about this.
Yes.
That's amazing. Okay,
Absolutely.
so how do you make that transition? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so I got out of the hospital. I had then gotten out of a bad relationship. Well, it ended due to me going to the hospital. Just feeling a little alone. Felt like, no one was really, like I had lost my friends due to this mental illness, this battle that I was facing. So I decided, well, I started my own business, Still Standing Enterprise, and it's therapy through art and music for people with mental illnesses.
Okay, stop right there. You got to tell us more about that.
Yeah, so it's just, Still Standing Enterprise is the name of my business. So I do more of like just getting my name out there right now, like, on the news, magazine, different things. But the business side to it is therapy through art and music for people with mental illnesses. So to get away from the medicine and things, I think that art and music, that's therapy in itself to help someone.
Why is that important? Tell me why that is so. I know why it is, but tell my audience why that is so important, especially after you went through that experience. How would those things have affected you in a positive way?
So those things affected me, I think. It helps with the brain. It symbolizes the brain as well. But I also believe that it gave me a passion again. It gave me something to live again through music, through writing music, doing my movie. It sparked up something in me. Like, it made me to know that, okay, I've been through all that. I've been through all this. That, okay, they turned their backs on me, but I can still live again. I can still live again through my music and through my movie. So then I wanted to do a movie. So I decided to do a movie, Don't Judge Me. And What's
the name of the movie again?
Don't Judge Me.
Okay, so you get out, your friends are gone, your boyfriend is gone. You walk out of Mendota, your parents, your family's probably some of them are looking at you kind of
Yes.
crazy. So you're feeling judged, right?
Yes.
So and you're going, don't judge me, right?
Yes.
So is that where this comes from?
Yes. It comes from being judged or being like, okay, so people in the world, some people have mental illnesses, some people have cancer, some people have different things that we battle. And mine was bipolar, mental illness. So I said, even though I have this, I don't want people to look at me differently. Okay, yeah, that's the label that the world put on me. That's the label that the doctors put on me. But God put a different label on me. Prophetess, a woman of God, intelligent, beautiful. So I say, I'm going to make this movie. And I'm going to say, don't judge me. Don't judge me off my past, off who you think I am. Judge me off the real me, the true Nikyra McCann. The woman that fed the homeless, the woman that loves to help people, the woman that keeps her head high, the woman that's in college, the woman that does all these great things. So don't look at the negative. Let's look at the positive and move forward with that.
So don't let your mental illness define you.
Yes.
Or scare people.
Absolutely.
Right? Because I don't look at it as a negative, because we all are the sum of many parts and the sum of our experiences. So without those experiences, you wouldn't have your testimony.
Amen.
Without that experience, you wouldn't have done your movie.
Amen.
Without your experience, you wouldn't be Nikyra McCann, the beautiful entrepreneur filmmaker that you are right now, right?
Yes, sir.
So isn't it funny how sometimes you have to embrace the journey?
Yes.
Even though the journey was a struggle?
Yes. Yes,
really?
absolutely.
And what you're touched is, so I want to take you back to, when you were in that room and when you were smoking on the woo-woo and you heard that voice in your head. So now, aren't you walking in it? Aren't you doing when God originally spoke to you?
Yes.
Aren't you actually walking and doing exactly what he said,
Told
right?
You to do. Told
So
you to do.
What I'm saying to you, maybe at that time you wouldn't have been able to do what he wanted you to do. So infinite knowledge and infinite understanding requires infinite struggle, right?
Yes.
So it requires that. So you went through everything that you went through, probably as quickly as you did, to have a testimony to bring you to right where you are, to start your business for mental health. Most people don't understand that. To do a movie, you're doing exactly and walking in exactly what he said that day. So if you didn't know that and nobody reminded you of that, let me tell you that.
Thank you.
So that's what I
appreciate
see.
that.
That's what I see when I see
I
you.
needed to see that, and that is
Okay.
definitely correct.
And we'll elaborate a little bit more. We'll be right back on the Conversation Shop.
God, I ask right now that you would, God, touch this child. God, I come against every spirit that tries to control her mind, that tries to take over her. Satan, the Lord rebukes you. I come against you. I come against you with the power of God, and in the name of Jesus, God, cover her from the crown of her head to the sole of her feet. Shift her right now, God. Begin to work from the inside out. God, I believe that there's going to be a story behind this. God, I believe that you're going to get the last smile. You're going to get the last words. God, I'm believing you and I'm trusting you.
Hi, welcome back to the Conversation Shop. I'm here with my very special guest, Miss Nikyra McCann.
Yes, sir.
Nikyra, the amazing Nikyra McCann.
Yes.
Again, we were having a conversation about, testimony, about getting understanding from struggle, right?
Yeah.
Not realizing that some of the things you go through or you ask for, you receive, but you receive it in ways that you don't appreciate until you're at the end of the walk,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So again, we were talking about, you going through, hearing some voices during an experience, going out into the yard, expressing yourself, telling people about the Lord and telling the people about unity, having a police officer come up out of the blue, being arrested, not being told, having your family not being told where you were, being thrown in an empty room, being held, going from there, going to Mendota, family finding out, your mother advocating, doing the best that she can to make sure that you're mentally healthy, that you're not going to harm yourself, and trying to get you out of this place. Navigating, not really having a real diagnosis, being in a place where people aren't really stimulated, where it kind of makes a psychosis worse, but God blessing you through your mother's advocacy,
Yes.
getting you out of this place,
Yes.
and you through not losing a boyfriend, losing friends, having family looking at you as if they were afraid, you coming to the understanding that you need to do a movie about, don't be afraid, and creating that. And also creating a business, going back on helping mental health patients with art, with music, with crafts, which I think is amazing. So again, I want to celebrate all of your accomplishments and your walk.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I definitely want to do that. But I also want to share with you too. We talked about don't judging when someone or you're labeled as someone that has a mental illness or a handicap. I call it a handicap, right? Well, what most people don't know about me, when I was younger, I was born with bow legs, really severely bowed legs. So I had braces on my legs, and I had to wear orthopedic shoes, literally,
Oh, wow.
up until I was 5 or 6. So it was really, really bad.
Oh.
Also, I had a really bad lisp, so my tongue was a little big for my mouth. So you couldn't really understand what I was saying. So they thought I was retarded. So I had to go through all these different tests, and maybe retarded is not the correct term. Mentally challenged may be the correct term now, but I went through assessments trying to prove that I didn't have these problems. Being a young kid, acting out, behavioral issues because of it, dealing with some medication things as well, but navigating that and overcoming those things to be who I am today. So again, struggle only makes you better. And my motto in life is always, out of struggle comes great reward. So again, I think you're an example of that.
Yeah.
So again,
Absolutely.
we're going to dive right back into the last part. We're going to have you, tell us how you put this movie together. You go through all of that and you decide you're going to do a movie. So
Yeah.
tell me about how you put all of this together And also, don't leave out this business that you put together in the midst of putting this movie together.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me and my audience about this.
Yeah, so I decided.
And how old are you again?
30.
I just got to say that. Just
30.
young woman, right? You doing all this stuff?
Yes.
Young woman, okay. All right,
30.
go ahead.
So I decided, I said, you know, I'm just going to turn a negative into a positive. So I purchased a camera from my pastor.
Mm-hmm.
And I started recording. My family, they helped me, my brother, my mom, my nephew, 11, he's recording. And so we just started recording, and it took a month for the whole process. I got a membership at the TV place. I edited the whole thing. I learned how to edit. I did the edits. And then I had it aired at Market Square Theater 2013.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And a lot of people showed up, and I sent the proceeds to a mental health agency to help in that area.
Okay.
And it was just amazing. It's an awesome experience.
I think you're an amazing young woman. But again,
Thank you.
you know, you have your family helping you put together. But, you know, what motivated you? You know, everyone doesn't wake up one morning. And believe me, I understand exactly where you come from, because I believe that. Just wake up and do it. That's my motto. So, but again, for others who don't understand, how does a young melanated woman wake up in the morning after going through all of this, right? People are afraid of you. You have a mental health issue, right?
Right.
How do you go from that to being creative and putting something that's like together?
How do I go from that? It was like, man, like, it's like, now is the time. If it's not now, when will the time be? So it's like, I have to do it. I just had so much motivation, so much energy, and I did it. I just felt like it was the time. It was the right time to do it, to go for my dreams, to find a new passion. I would always pray, God, give me a passion. Give me a passion, God, something I can live for. And that was my passion right there.
So your passion, I see that in advocating for mental health. I think it's amazing. I think that you have a wonderful story to tell, because anyone that meets you, quite frankly, if you didn't tell them that you had your walk, they would never think that you did, which I think is amazing. It tells about your transformation.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, you know, are you public speaking? Are you,
Yeah.
you know, tell my audience, you know, all the things that you're doing and how they can get in touch with you, where
Yeah.
they can find the movie.
Yeah. So you can find my movie on YouTube. Don't Judge Me, Nikyra McCann. It's on YouTube. I have some other songs and different things that I did as well. Also, I've spoken at conferences for mental health at UW Whitewater. I've been on I Discover Stars, spoken to thousands. I was on Set Apart and Chosen. They just shared my video. I have like almost 13,000 views. I've been in Capital City Hughes. I've been on NBC 15 News. I guess I'm just looking for any way to get out and to help people who battle mental illness, who battle anything. That's my passion, to help. So you can contact me at Nikyra, Nikyra, still standing at gmail.com, and that's Nikyra still standing at gmail.com.
Thank you for sharing that with me and my audience. And again, make sure you reach out to Nikyra. Again, it's an amazing, amazing story. And I ask everyone in my audience to make sure that you take the time to go to YouTube and look at the movie. I think you'll be impressed that someone just did this on their own. And I think that you will definitely be inspired to create. Again, before we end our show, I really want to let's talk about mental health and advocacy, okay? Because as you and I talked about your story and your movie, there were a lot of things that that came out, and quite frankly, that kind of scared me a little bit. Number one is, how can someone just diagnose you with a mental illness without it just seems like without justification or without warrant? You know, have you looked into that, or is there, you know, are there laws that allow the medical establishment to do those kinds of things? And I'm just asking you
Yeah.
questions as someone that's went through them. And it's okay to say you don't know, but I'm just curious.
I don't know, and I haven't looked into that, but it is definitely something that I think I will pursue to look into.
Yes, because and then one of the main things that really is troubling to me about your experience is that how can you be arrested and held without being charged? It makes me want to ask, what were you charged with? Or did you ever, were you ever, disorderly conduct led to that?
Disorderly conduct.
There's no, and I can tell, it reminds me, I'm sorry, in a small way with this Meek Mill thing, how something small led to something long-standing and big. How does a disorderly conduct situation take you to Mendota, which leads me to believe that when you were incarcerated, your anger from not knowing why you were, or disorientation from not knowing why you were locked up, not knowing why you were put in this room, realizing that you're in jail, whether they're telling you that or not having anyone probably explain to you clearly why you're there and tell you that they're trying to help you, not realizing that as melanated people, as black people here in this country, we have a fear. A lot of us have a fear of the police. A lot of us have a fear of those kinds of situations. And when you're having an episode, it only worries me that no one was there to protect you. To me, it should have been someone at the police station that should have stepped in and said, hey, wait a minute, let's see what's really going on with this young woman before we initiate all these things. It just feels like they passed you through the system.
Yeah.
Do you have a comment about that at all? Elaborate on that.
I would just say, even though whatever happened, it happened and they put me through the system or they forgot about me or however it happened, I just feel like it led me to where I am today. And I believe that there's purpose in the struggle. There's purpose in what you go through. There's purpose in the heartache. There's purpose in the pain. And I believe that it led me to where I am today. And I wouldn't be who I am, this wonderful person, if I wouldn't have had that struggle.
Well, you know what? I think we're going to end the show with that. I think that's an amazing way and a great comment to my audience on how to live their life and where you are. Again, Nikyra, I want to thank you for being on the show. And definitely we'll have you back on the Conversation Shop later to find out about some of the amazing things that you're soon to be doing.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. Guys, I want to thank you for for joining us on the Conversation Shop. I'll see you next time. Join us, won't you?